Hi, this is DL at Tranquil Living, and this is the second of a series of wall practices. So today we're going to start standing. Go ahead and bring whatever surface you're working on, your mats, close to a wall. It doesn't have to be completely clear, but about shoulder height. And we'll start facing the wall. So place your feet about hip width apart in mountain pose here. We're just going to face the wall and just feel through the entire surface of the feet. So it's all 9 points, each of the toes and where they connect into the large ball under the big toe and the ball region under the little toes. Feeling the outside edge of the foot from the pinky toe all the way to the back and the surface of the heel. Also be aware of the arch of the foot and its proximity or relationship to the ground. And then rather than stand stiffly, which, a rock or a mountain, that's how it would be. But I want you to imagine that rock had breath. And really, if we were able to look very, very closely at each atom of the mountain, we would see that it is movement, it's vibration. So I want you to think about that vibration, that pulsing that is constant in every form. And just get in touch with that within your own body, that pulsing, that movement. And it can be bigger or smaller. But I just want you to start to feel your weight shift a little bit left to right. Feeling how that changes what you feel through the feet and right up the legs. And notice in particular, because this kind of is we've been focusing on the back and how the back feels and how the core supports or doesn't the body. So focus in on this lower back region now and get a sense of how maybe comfort or discomfort comes into that region as a result of how your feet are placed. Now, if I bring my weight back to my heels, what does that do to my back? If I bring my weight forward onto my toes a little more, still touching with the heel, how does that affect what's going on in my back? So continue a gentle sway and exploration of weight and sensation. And start, if you haven't already, to incorporate the breath into that exploration. So we are just allowing movement in the body, rippling in the body, feeling chain responses in the body as we stand. Finding places where you're tight or tense or feel discomfort of any kind. Becoming awake and aware of places that we hold everything, even when we don't need to. And let's remember not to lock our knees. In fact, you can start a little bend through both knees and release. Notice what's happening through the ankle as you do. Notice how the knees shift and if they go too far over the front legs and how that might feel. And place your hands on the wall. And we're going to start to walk our feet back and the hands down until you come as far as you can go. So, or parallel to the ground. So I'm just going to walk my feet back, and I'm bringing my hands down using the support of the wall to be steady. And I want to come into about a 90-degree angle from, in terms of my my hip crease. Now, if this needs to be a little less steep for you, that's fine. We do want to feel connected to the wall without locking the arms. We want to feel, of course, connected through the points of the feet without locking the knees. So as soon as you release your knees, you're going to feel some engagement through maybe, this area of your body, the gluteals, all the muscles in the butt. So also just check in with your core and make sure that it's not hanging or drooping. You're not hanging off your back. Take this in and up so that you feel supported, and really use those muscles in the legs and butt to keep that whole area supported. Now, you can start to release excess tension that you might be holding. And just breathe here. Allow both sides of tissues on the back, so right and left of the spine, to open up and back and peel away from the center line. And the hands can slip if you're not careful, so do make sure you're staying connected in. So this is very similar to what we were doing in the last video, where I had you on all fours and you had one leg extended back and the opposite arm extended forward. But this time, of course, we have equal pressure on both sides. Now, if you would like, you can start to explore what would it take for you to maybe shift weight onto one leg versus the other, maybe even lifting. And feel what happens through your hands. What is the shift as you shift weight on the feet? One elbow may bend a little more. Can you equalize these 3 points of contact, foot and both hands? And stay connected through the core. Maybe even widening the hands for a little more balance. And then you can extend, if you'd like, that back leg into space, reaching behind you. Now we could flip this around. We could have this foot against the wall and our hands in space. So that is another option. Breathe. And bring now this free leg in towards the nose. Feeling again that pressure with the wall so that you can really round through the back body. So you're pushing against the wall, bringing that knee in towards the nose, rounding through the back. Good, and release. Go ahead and walk back up. We'll take a break in between. So just notice any sensations you feel through whatever parts of the body feel most alive and energized as a result of that. You are also free to work through anything that feels tight. So if your wrists feel tight, fingers, just let that go with some movement. All right, so now we'll do the other side, but of course we'll go right back with both legs and feet. Okay, finding about 90-degree angle or less, or I should say greater, not less. Okay, and then finding the surface through the entire foot, releasing any hanging off the back. So we're engaging the legs nice and strong here, engaging the muscles of the core, long from head all the way through to the tailbone. And once you feel stable, you can start to explore, maybe widen the hands a little bit so you still have equal pressure there to lift one foot or just start to shift the weight over. Now, we tend to have one side that's a little stronger than the other, so you might find this side to be easier or more difficult. So be aware as you move. And try to keep, again, an equal weight on all three of your standing points or supporting points. Good. Now these back toes are pointing down and reaching away with the heel. Toes are flexed down towards the floor. I have to stay pulled up through my core. That really works the gluteal muscle of the standing leg. So we're reaching into the wall, we're reaching away with the foot. Just a few more seconds. Feel free to release at any moment that you care to. This is quite intense. Okay, let's bend that leg, bring it back in towards the knee. Or I'm sorry, towards the nose. Rounding the spine. Let both sides of tissues on the back release and open. And you can come down and back to standing. Let's stand with the feet together now. And just notice any sensations through the body. Do you feel any closer to the floor? Do you feel stronger, taller, more stable? Okay, let's come on down to the ground. We're going to face the wall. I'm going to use my blocks here because of the pipes. Okay, so you're going to be in staff pose with each foot against the block, full surface of the foot. And your hands can be placed behind you if you need that little bit of extra of support. You can also sit on a blanket or bolster if you're rounding through the lower back at all. And of course your hands can be anywhere on your legs as well. So whatever's comfortable for you. But I want you to scoot close enough to the wall that you feel the pressure through the feet, but not so close that you can't, for the most part, straighten your legs. Of course, we don't want to ever lock the knees. But I want you to get a sense of that energy coming from the wall back through the legs and see how that is impacting you. Now what we're going to do is we're going to open the chest here so it can be nice to go ahead and bring your hands behind. Just rest lightly on your fingertips, not a lot of weight. We're going to lift the chest with the breath. So inhale and lift through. The shoulder blades start to come together or move towards each other. And the chin starts to lift. Breathe. Stay connected into the wall. Good. And then go ahead and start from the lower back. Start to round through one vertebra at a time. So here we are in our cat stretch, but from a seated position. So now we're going to go back and forth in cat-cow. So we're going to lift the chest, breathe in, and round, starting with the lower back, articulating each vertebra into an arch with the exhale, rounding out the belly. Go slowly, go gently, only go as deep as is comfortable for you. You can go faster or slower. One more time. Good, and rest. Okay, so let's bring the feet in towards the body, and we'll just take a break here in cobbler's pose. So it doesn't matter how far close your feet are to your body, whatever's comfortable. Go ahead and grab hold of your feet somewhere, or your ankles or somewhere on your legs. And make sure that you're sitting up tall. So again, we don't want that rounding through the spine. At least not yet. So make sure that you're sitting up nice and tall on your sit bones. You don't have to do anything here. You don't have to push your knees to the ground. You don't have to force anything. Just let the body soften. And then as the body softens, then you can add a little more. And if you want to start rounding forward, you can over your legs. Coming back up, rounding up. So for the next pose, we'll be doing a twist, and we're going to use the wall for that. So you'll want to come into a comfortable kneeling position, thunderbolt, rock pose, whatever you like to call it. And if this isn't comfortable for you, lots of modifications are possible, such as sitting on a block, just placing the block right over the heels, using a blanket instead of the block, which is a little softer, using a towel or blanket under the ankles if the ankles are tight and give you a problem. Or you can even put something in between your knees if it gives you knee issues. So there's lots of ways you can find comfort in this pose. If it's absolutely not comfortable to sit in this pose, then you can sit in easy pose. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring our right arm to our left leg. So somewhere on that leg. And then just begin to, rather than start to twist right away, I just want you to get in touch with the exhale, get in touch with your belly. As your belly empties, see if you can lengthen through the lower back, kind of opening that tissue towards the wall behind you. Good. And then notice how that gives you all this space to turn. So you can start to move into that twist and then use the wall behind you. Now see, I feel like I'm even a little too close, so I'm going to scoot back. I'm going to find my space again in the belly. opening up the tissues of the lower back and then into the twist. Now I can anchor my hand against the wall and use that to push me slightly forward, slightly taller, but I'm still opening that back tissue. It's like the back is peeling open into the space behind me. As I do that, I find more emptiness through the belly and can twist a little deeper. So I'm starting to really hollow out here and lift. My hips are still completely faced forward. I can add the head if I like. I can hold or I can release at any time, so feel free. And I want to make sure that I can breathe fully here and into any tightness or holding tension. I'm feeling some tension in my legs. I'm just going to let that go. And the other thing that I feel a little bit of, so watch for, is any pulling through the shoulder. And that just means, I'm just doing too much. So I can release that. I can push myself a little more forward on my legs so I have a little more space between myself and the wall, or maybe you need to be closer. It really is worth it to find the sweet spot. Now that I've found it, I don't have that same sensation in my shoulder. And I feel as though I could stay here quite a bit longer. So let's slowly release back, starting with the head, and just let everything follow. And pause in that neutral place. Good. Okay, so I'm going to go the other direction, which means I'll be turning away from the camera, but that might actually be helpful for you just to get a different vantage point. So I start by bringing my left hand over to my right knee, and then I begin getting in touch with that exhalation and the emptying of the belly and the opening of the tissues of the back into space behind me. So it's like I'm taking that arch out of my back. And then I can begin to twist because there is space there. And I'm finding my wall. Now, I noticed a little bit of a lean into my right leg. So you might notice that. If it's necessary for you to open up, that's fine. With the purchase of my hand, I can now start to really work through that belly tissue, keeping my hips forward and deepening the twist. Taking some nice deep breaths and releasing unnecessary tension. We need the strength to hold, but we don't need to grip. Good. Slowly coming back around with the head, and then the shoulders, arms, back to neutral. Just pause. So I'd like to do one more pose with you today for this practice, and that is a pyramid pose. So come onto your hands and knees. We're going to bring one leg towards the wall, the other leg right under us. So the heel of the back leg is placed right against the wall. The toes on both feet are facing forward, and I am draped over this front leg with a slight bend in the knee. Now, if you can't come down this far, you can always rest your hands on your thigh. And if you'd like at any time, you can come down. And you might even want to straighten, just keeping a little bend in the knee so we don't lock the joint, but you can start to straighten that front leg if you wish. Let that front hip roll back and the other hip roll forward or inward. Now blocks can come in handy here if you feel like you can't reach the floor and relax, so feel free to use blocks at any height. Use the heel against the wall to move that leg back into space, even as you move the toes of the front foot forward into space. So it's as if there's tension being pulled through the surface of the mat if you're on it. And that gives you the opportunity to really open up through the belly. As now that I've got my purchase on my hands as well on the blocks, and I'm using the blocks to lengthen my spine outward. Everything else here, the hips, or I should say the sacrum, the tailbone is moving towards the wall. Everything else lengthening out forward. To release, just soften everything. Bend both knees round and bring yourself back into a kneeling position. Let's just take a moment either on all fours, in child's pose, or in rock pose to relax. Okay, and then when you're ready, we'll come on to the other side. So, bring the back leg right up to the wall, the toes facing forward, front leg wherever you'd like it in terms of distance from the other leg. Slight bend in that front knee to start. And again, be on your hands on your thigh if it's just too deep to start for you. Use your blocks as necessary. And then start to roll that back hip forward. Open the front hip back. That might straighten the leg a little more for you, but do leave that micro bend in your joint of the knee. Once you get in touch with that, start to feel in for the contact points. So that heel that's pressing in is allowing you to grow forward, just as the purchase of your hands on the floor or the block is helping that spine to grow outward. And notice what's happening in your core. Again, allowing that tissue of the core to support the back, the spine. And then softening everything. Every joint softens back. And coming once again into all fours, child's pose or rock pose. absolutely love working with the wall. It is so invigorating, and I just feel so strong and alive afterwards. I hope you're experiencing the same thing. Let's come into Shavasana. And in fact, I'll give you the option, since we are here, if you'd like to do legs up the wall instead of a Shavasana, supine Shavasana, feel free. So to come into legs up the wall, just sit right up against the wall and then swing your legs around. Now I have my legs together. You might have space between your legs. You might even be in a cobbler's pose here, so there are options for comfort. And though I don't have anything close by, you could always put some weight on your feet, and that will just really connect you into the ground, or just flexing the feet can give you that sensation of connecting in through the lower back and pelvis. But it's also fine to just relax. Open the arms either out to the side, perhaps cactus arms, or even on your heart and belly, one hand each. So whatever feels most comforting and relaxing to you. And now let's just let everything go. Feel all the work that you've done working for you now. Feel free to stay longer in this posture if you need a little more rest. Otherwise, whether you're in Shavasana or have your legs up the wall, just begin to move fingers and toes. Let's bring the knees into the chest wherever we are. Feel free to rock side to side if that feels good before rolling onto one side. Right, and just take a moment in your fetal position. Be aware of the space around the body. What's behind you? What's in front of you? What's above and below? Breathe into all of those spaces. And then come up to a seated position. Moment of meditation with your hands in Gyan Mudra, forefinger and thumb together. Breathe in deep. We'll close with an Om. Thank you for joining me here on Tranquil Living. Be sure to check out the Tranquil Living Tribe on dlcsgo.com for exclusive video content, free courses, and discounts on classes. Thanks, and see you soon. I hope